Hi everyone, welcome to this class. So today we're going to paint this bubble together. First of all, these are stencils and I'm going to use the biggest circle here for the shape, to create the shape of that bubble. Here's where I'm going to add this part here. You can download this sketch as well. So something like this, and then we need this part. So it goes like, kind of ends here, I'd say. All right, so something like this, I'd say. So right away, let's mark for ourselves, like, this is like a big shadow here, right? And then we have these needles. Just to get an idea, and I am going to take a photo of this sketch so you can download it if you need to. So where am I gonna place masking? Whenever I see like the biggest highlights, I'd say like, let me just wipe some of that. Over here, this part, trying to dry brush so it's in like a nicer effect. The next step is going to be to wet our bubble. So first of all, make sure that your masking has dried. Now I am going to use a larger quill brush. This is my long quill size 4 brush, Songbird, and I am going to start wetting the paper. Now how long do you wet the paper? You want to wet it for, I'd say, even 3 minutes. And I'm just going to grab like this. It has to be like milk-like ratio, something that feels milky, because at this point I'm not looking to have a lot of control. I am going to circle here my highlight. Now, if you've been painting with me for a while, you can actually add a little bit of blue here, because I can see a little bit of blue inside of that highlight. So you would start with a little bit of blue there and circle my highlights. And then I'm going to grab the same brush. I'm not cleaning it. This is my milk-like ratio, maybe a little heavier, something that feels like half and half, between milk and half and half. This is my Pro Red. So there's my Pro Red. I almost like feel like I should be grabbing a little bit of Quid Red. Almost feels like this is the kind of a color, but I'm gonna stick with these because it's just simple. I'm gonna grab just a tiny bit of Quid Red. I'm just so tempted. I already had it on my palette. I just wanted a little bit of that here. So very gently. You don't have to be in a hurry. You should have enough time if you wet it for a while, the paper. So as you see how we are separating things, right? This is our highlight and then the rest of it. But now you can see why I'm starting with the milk-like ratio. Because if I go right away with like a heavy cream to cream top, then I'm not gonna have that much time, because if you don't have much water in your paint mixed with your paint, the paper will also, because of that, dry faster. So as you see, I'm not trying to cover entirely this highlight, but I can see how the colors are kind of like going in there, right? And that's all I need. I don't need more than that. Now here's the important part. Let's grab some of this creamier paint. So this is heavy cream of the red with the green, and I'm gonna grab a little bit of blue too. So red, green, and some blue, but this needs to be more diluted with water. More of that blue even. There you go. And where is the shadow? Right here. This is our shadow. So it's like a triangle. So you kind of want to create that triangle. And then even start with more of a red, just so it's not so dark. I feel like mine is a little too dark. I'm jumping into the darks too fast. And then there. And then the second, we're going to grab more red. I might have to squeeze some because and I'm going to go here, right next to this shadowy color that I just placed in there. And then here, as you see, like I'm attaching myself like to this shadow and then going next to it. I'm gonna pull a little bit from here, that shadowy color along here. And let's see, should be a little shadow color here too. And I'm gonna grab a smaller brush. So this is my round 3. It's a smaller, medium stiff brush. So I have some hair actually. You know what? That hair is going to stay there. I'm not going to touch it until it's dry. But I'm going to grab the same colors, creamy paint. This is my blue, red, green. And I am going to circle this little part where the cup starts. It's a little too much shadow went in over here, but it's okay. I'm just going to feel it a little more actually. I'm going to wait for these cast shadows later to add them later. But in the meantime, what I could do is just add this part, the shadow. Now, when you add this shadow, it has to be cream top like ratio, because if it's not, you are going to make that paint like not even spread, it's just going to be a bloom. But here, how about fixing my edges here? This is creamy paint, cream top like ratio. This is still wet, so I can still do it. Just so I can add a shadow, but it wasn't even for that. It was just to make my bubble a little more round as I went over the edges a little too much. And technically that shadow goes all the way around. So if you can still add it, great. If not, don't worry about it. As long as you have like these highlights and it looks shiny, right? So the next step will be to actually paint the cup. But you know what? We can paint the pine needles right now. So my approach is pretty much the same. We're just gonna paint it wet on wet. So I'm not gonna touch my bubble at all. And as a matter of fact, I have to be careful here next to the cup part. I'm gonna grab my round 8 golden one. And you can go for burnt sienna, or you can create a shade of brown like this by mixing your red with the green. So this is my red and green together, right? And then you want to have like a cream top like ratio. So I'm gonna grab more of it. So cream top like ratio. If you want to change the shade of your brown, just grab some more, some blue, for example. But you can see it's brown, right? We can grab burnt sienna, and that's normally what you would grab. But I am trying to make this palette extremely simple. And I already added quinacridone red. How do we create different shades of green? Basically grabbing a little bit of yellow, and then there's our green. So this is sap green and imidazolone yellow, and I'm still using my round 8 golden one, and I'm going to change the shade of it by grabbing a little more green. And then this is cream top like ratio between water and paint. So creamy paint, a little bit of yellow again, some of this green, and then before this is dry, or even if it's dry, it's okay, because it's okay to have some hard edges in some of these areas. But this is the wet on wet pine needles, and the direction is kind of like everywhere. Like you don't want to go, there's nothing sticks straight, nothing sticks straight. So there's my pine needles. You can also do it with the Rigger brush, my favorite brush actually to work with. There's my sap green, phthalo blue. So as the time goes by, you'll notice that the needles become like more defined and more defined. That's because the paper is drying and you have more and more control. Also with the adjustment of the ratio between water and paint. So thank you so much for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.